All right, there's a first for everything here at Section 1904, and the first that we are going to check off tonight is an SDFC post-game show. I thought this was a big game. I thought this was an important game, and by the end of it, I thought it was a really good game to respond to. And my buddy Alex Peña, who you guys have maybe heard me and Darren mention once or twice on the Section 1904 podcast, he does a Substack. He writes a Substack about San Diego Football Club called Chromatic FC, I believe. And it's very good. It's mostly like game recaps, and he usually does a really good job of breaking down like the most important reasons that the result of the game was the result of the game. And since Darren is undoubtedly sleeping right now, because it is 5 a.m. Where he is in Spain, I asked Alex to join me, and I wanted to get his kind of quick reaction takes to a 2-1 SDFC win over St. Louis City FC, City SC. It wasn't an amazing game for SDFC. It wasn't like the game against Dallas where they were just like overwhelmingly great. It also wasn't the 0-0 tie we saw in the opener of Snapdragon Stadium for SDFC against St. Louis City. It was a really entertaining, close game that SDFC had to find a way to pull out. What is your initial take to this game, your reaction to this game, Alex?
Well, thanks for having me, John. And yeah, it was, I felt like the first half, San Diego FC was kind of feeling St. Louis out a little bit, just trying to see if they can get through the gaps a little bit. And then in the second half, they were finally taking their shots on goal, and it started right away with Lozano. So like you said, important that they got these 3 points on the road. They haven't done that since Real Salt Lake. Back in what was that, week 4 or 5? It's been a couple months since they had a road win. And I'm happy with the result. Giving up a late goal was not great, but it happens. But that second goal, was very important. So that was really good to see.
The second goal was great. The Dreyer goal. We'll get to that. I also want to talk about the Iloski goal for a number of different reasons. Actually, maybe we can start there.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first thought when you saw the starting lineup? I think they call it. I'm still learning all these soccer terms. The starting lineup for SDFC, because I had a very particular thought that kind of ended out playing out the way that I thought it might, and I'm wondering if you did too.
Okay. Yeah. When I first saw the lineup, I was surprised, especially with Mighton out with the injury.
Yeah.
And then, kind of seeing Valakari up top, that's kind of an area that I would say they need to change. And I think, Iloski has kind of proven himself a little bit to maybe he could fit that role a little bit with some, with 2 games coming up, pretty much back to back, Wednesday and Saturday. I think he's going to have those opportunities, to show what he can do at the 9 position. And I think that's kind of the area they're not really sure of what to do there. Is it going to be Dreyer? If Mighton's healthy, can Dreyer be there in the central forward, or is it going to be, Iloski or Valakari? It might be just like a rotation of guys there. What do you think?
I looked at it and I said, I don't like moving Dreyer out of the center. Because he's just so good going in either direction, and it adds so much. He's not a super athletic guy, but his decision-making can kind of throw you off because he can do so many different things. And I like having him in the center because not only is he a threat to score, he's a threat to pass either way. He doesn't seem to have an overly dominant foot, right? And so when I saw him off to the side and Valakari in the center on the front line, I think I literally said out loud, I don't like that. Mm-hmm. But I admitted to myself that I don't know nearly as much about soccer as Mikey Varas, and so I was like, I'll see how this plays out. I thought Valakari was terrible. I thought he had an awful game. I'm not looking at the player ratings. I don't know if they come out that quickly, but I thought he had an awful game. There's a number of players I thought had really good games. I thought Luca Bambino was fantastic, like one of the best players on the back line. But Valakari, I got to the point with him where I was like, how soon can they take him out? And he came out, and Alaski came in, and Alaski's like riding the wave from last week, scored a goal, kissed the badge on his uniform, really made a statement for himself. And he comes in, and I was like, I bet either he's going to score or he's going to open something up for somebody, because and he came in and it felt like that front line could breathe a little bit more. And then Alaski scores that first goal, and I was like, there it is. I got nothing against Valakari. I really don't. But he played a bad game, and it felt like he was being asked to do too much.
Yeah, I think he's just playing out of position for me. Yeah, he's more of a attacking midfielder. I think they kind of flip him and Della Torre. When he comes in to sub for Della Torre, so they kind of flip him every now and then. But yeah, it's nothing against the guy. I think he can do other things for the club, but he's just playing out of position. And I'm with you. I would rather see Dreyer up there right now with Ingvarsson out, and we haven't seen him. He might not come back, anytime soon. So why not put him there and have someone else, out in the wing? It's kind of with something I'm going with here.
Yeah, I imagine that they're hoping for next week that they can just have Mighton back out on the right and Dreyer back in the center. But if Mighton's not right, like I would, not that I'm telling Mikey Varas how to coach, but I would like consider strongly maybe starting Alaski just so you can keep Dreyer there in the center and just keep him and Chucky in the same place. As an aside, I said a thing on the podcast, I think a week ago, when the Lakers got knocked out. I was like, look, as a Mavericks fan, like, I love Luka. I'm probably always going to love Luka. But there was a certain level of frustration in watching him play, because almost every game there was a point where you were just like, can you stop whining and just play? And not every game, but a lot of games that he's in, I find myself doing this with Chucky. And there was definitely a period of about 10 to 15 minutes in this game where all he did was walk around and bitch at the refs. And like, I saw what I thought was an honest to God scoring opportunity that he refused to run up and be a part of, that died because of it. And I was like screaming at my TV. Like, I understand that that's kind of his reputation. He's kind of a hothead. He's willing to challenge people. He's willing to challenge refs. He's, I guess, not afraid of getting yellow cards and whatnot. But like, man, the complaining really, if this was not they're going home with 3 points, I would be making a bigger deal about this. I don't think Chucky necessarily had a bad game. I thought he was okay. Obviously nothing compared to what he did against Dallas, but man, he just spent like a bigger portion of this game bitching about the refs and bitching about no calls than it seemed like trying to score goals. And that was very frustrating to me. Did you see the same thing? I saw you nodding a little bit.
Yeah, it's part of the Chucky experience a little bit. Yeah. And yeah, listen, I think I think the ref let a lot of things go in this game. I saw, Luca Bambino get clipped. I saw Alaski late in the game also, get taken down, nothing called. Referee was letting a lot of things go. And I think this kind of part of Chucky, he's going to stand up for your players. He's going to be in the ref space. He's going to, tell you about these calls. And and he might not do it at the best time, but, Chucky's passionate. That's one thing that, you can say about the guy, and hopefully it doesn't end up with something negative, right? Where he doesn't get, all right, that's enough, Chucky. Here's a yellow card.
Yeah.
And yeah, it hasn't gone to that point yet, but yeah, it's part of the experience. And I see it one way where it's like I get he's just helping out his guys, and but the other is like, Chucky, you gotta see like this play is right in front of you. Come on, you know, let it go, let it go. Just play some football.
Yeah. And that was always my thing with Luka, right? Where I'm like, if you just let it go and focus on the basketball, like you're hurting yourself by not doing that. And sometimes I'm like yelling at Chucky going like, you're hurting yourself. Like just get back in the game. You're hurting your team. Anyway, let's push that aside. I want to talk about the Dryer goal. But before I get into the goal itself, I haven't been watching. This is my first year really paying attention to MLS. I've watched EPL for a few years, but my brain is still tuned to American sports. So sometimes things happen that I think should be a big deal, and no one makes a big deal about them. And I'm very confused. And there was an instance of this, and I think it was the Dryer goal. I'm almost positive it was the Dryer goal. He scores the goal, and Bombino's right there in front of the goal. And no, sorry. This was the City goal. City scores the goal, and Bombino's like standing in the net next to Dos Santos, and he leans down to pick up the ball, and a player comes flying in from St. Louis and basically tackles him to the ground in the net, like on the ground of the goal, and then like he then decides he's gonna hold on to the ball, and then two guys come over and they're like literally like trying to punch the ball out of his. And this never gets met. I'm watching on Apple TV. I'm watching the whoever the broadcasters are. They show this replay 12 times, and no one at any point mentions the fact that Bombino gets literally tackled into the goal after the goal is scored, and then there's like dudes on top of him like punching him, and then there's like another guy who's just like standing over him trying to intimidate him. And I'm seeing this and I'm like, in real time, I'm like, oh, they're about to fight, right? There's about to be like a team versus team blowout fist fight in the middle of the field. Nothing happened. No one talked about it. Nothing happened. Am I crazy? Did you see this?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw a player, and you mentioned it was Bambino. Yeah, he's in the net, he's in the goal, and yeah, he's just like covering the ball with his body because he's just trying to waste time. I think that's what everybody is aware of. He's just trying to waste time.
Got it.
It's this late in the game, and he's a young player. He's the youngster of the squad, and he's kind of just like doing that for the team. and yeah, I think everyone knows like the consequences of that. You're gonna see a yellow, and not really a red, but yeah, you're going to see a yellow if you just hold on to it a little too long and try to as you restart play. But yeah, it happens all the time. I've seen it in Premier League matches when it's late. Guys just want to waste time, and it didn't escalate. They were able to restart, and then I think what ended up happening was they were looking at that goal because for a possible. I don't know if it was a possible handball or whatever it was, but they were looking at it, and then the ref turned to the St. Louis bench and he gave a yellow to their bench.
He gave a yellow to the coach. Yeah, told the coach to go sit down. I remember.
Yeah, so I think the referee was focused on other things and had no intention to give Bambino a yellow card there.
Yeah, I was shocked. You're right and I think what it was someone bumped into him and he fell down as if he got knocked over on top of the ball and was like, oh, I just happened to fall on the ball. I'll stay here for a minute. I mean, that's just good veteran shit, I guess. Darren has made a point, and I wasn't keeping track of this last week, but Darren has made a point to show that Mikey Varas has done like all of his subs every week. I don't know if that continued last week, but this week, 2 subs. Just 2. One of them being Oloski coming in for Oni Valakari, who, as mentioned, was having a bit of a rough game out of position, so that would make sense. And Verhoeven came in for Willie Kamado, which that felt like Willie is turning into my roller coaster player to watch, in that like he does some stuff that's like, wow, that's really impressive. And sometimes he just has like brain farts. Like sometimes it seems like the ball does not go where he's intending to kick it at all. There was at least one time where he was trying to just clear the ball upfield and ended up kicking it out of bounds. And it's like and it seemed like the further the game went and the more tired he got, the more prone he became to just being like kind of inaccurate with his passes. So it made sense to me to pull him out. But I wondered if kind of going with that short bench, if Mikey Varas is finally like settling into like, these are my guys. This is who I want on the field. I want these guys in the back line. I want this center field. And then I want this front line, and until Ingvartson comes back. And then maybe he becomes a part of it as well.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Just two subs this week. And yeah, Willie Camato did some good things. I noticed like early on in the match, he covered for a center back's mistake. I think it was McVeigh. He was right behind Klaus and, was able to kick, clear the ball out or, just kick it out of Klaus's way. And then, kind of like midway in the midpoint of the match, Kamado was able to cause a corner kick. And that was like, I think that was the only corner kick of the match for SDFC. And it was because of his speed. And yeah, as he got tired, they subbed him out. And yeah, I think you're right that Varas has settled into certain guys, and we're kind of seeing those guys regularly. Yeah, he's not using Lawfulson anymore and Negri and veteran guys that have been in this league. He's kind of going with some younger guys that haven't seen any minutes, but they're actually providing really good play for SCFC. Willie's one of them, and Bambino's another that he's 18 years old, and yeah, he's really coming up big for the club.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, if Reyes has a chance to like jump into this lineup anywhere and become like a starter, I'm like, I guess he could take Willie's spot just because Willie's a little bit more inconsistent than some of the other guys, but that'll be an interesting thing to watch. You are right that STFC only had one corner. They also had I think Chucky had a free kick kind of close to the box at one point that felt like it was going to go in and got knocked out. I was kind of blown away. This is going to sound silly, but I was blown away by how good St. Louis was. Like coming into this game, everything was like, oh, they've been losing terribly. Their fans are pissed. They can't score goals. Like, I think Darren sent me some sort of stat. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. That said, they have scored 8 goals in their last 11 matches before this one. And he was like, yeah, like if SDFC can get up, they can win. And look, they only scored 1 goal, right? I thought they looked good. I thought they looked scary. That guy Klaus was like terrifying. Like anytime he got the ball in that third of the field, it was just like he's gonna get a shot off or he's gonna create a shot for someone. Like I thought he was really good. I was expecting St. Louis to feel like a pushover, and they did not feel like a pushover. This felt like a fairly even game that San Diego had to play like a good what's the word I'm looking for? Like regimented game. Like they had to follow their coaching and follow their rules to win this one. They weren't going to like luck into this one. They weren't going to talent their way into 3 points. Like this was a game they had to work for. And that was kind of unexpected for me. Did this go the way you thought it, or was this a little unexpected for you too?
Yeah, a little unexpected, but I think it was more on our side than it was on their side. Just kind of giving the ball away on their side of the pitch. I think that's what kind of created their opportunities. When you look at the first half stats, it was like 54% possession for SDFC and 46 for that. And that was odd because that first match at home, we had all the possession and we were just kind of giving them chances and giving the ball away on their side of the pitch. And that created opportunities for Klaus. That dude is big. He is a giant on the pitch, and he can move. But I felt confident that they weren't going to score. And they ended up scoring late in the match on a free kick. But
Yeah.
every opportunity they got, they fumbled it somehow. They kicked it wide, or they just kind of stumbled, and they couldn't get their feet under them, or
Yeah.
it was something that just, or on our side, we San Diego just disrupted it, and they did a really good job defending. And I felt like this offense just had no teeth, and it was very true for like 90 minutes of the match until they scored.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we kind of created those opportunities for them, and I they're just not really good at creating those scoring opportunities and really getting that into like the final third. And it really did show that they still have a lot of work to do, and finding a really and a good striker, and creating those opportunities.
Yeah, and I guess that's the other side of things. Like STFC won the possession battle 60-40 by the end of the game, 59-9 to 40.1, but basically 60-40. It's become a thing that I've almost started accepting, that there's gonna be 2 to 5 instances every game where SDFC like accidentally coughs the ball up within 25 feet of Dos Santos, and there's almost no one there to stop it. And it's like, those are crazy tense moments. That is a lot of pressure on Dos Santos. The defense, the backline does a pretty good job of like defending those, catching up and at least making it difficult for those guys. But yeah, I've almost just started expecting those mistakes, and they're mistakes, right? I think they had 2 to 3 of them tonight, and St. Louis got good shots off them. And it just seems to happen every game. I think in Mike Ybarra's head, he's like, eventually we're going to stop doing that. Eventually we're going to stop giving them those 2 to 5, really good chances at the goal every game. And that makes sense, right? Because they're all execution things. They're bad passes, or I didn't see a guy and he cut off the... But I don't know, it's kind of terrifying right now. And I think actually to that point, I think it makes someone like St. Louis seem scarier than they are, because you're seeing them get these like pretty good shots on goal, and you're like, whoa, what do you mean this offense can't score? They're on top of it. So I don't know, like you sent me a message halfway through going like, yeah, SDFC's having a hard time getting the ball through the midfield. They're going to have to start kicking it up from the back line up to the front to create opportunities. And I was like, how many times have Darren and I talked about it? Like, they're just not going to do that. Like, they've just decided they're not going to do that. And there was a point in this game for about 5 minutes where STFC would just kind of form like a diamond and just do these little passes back and forth to each other. It was like, pass to you, 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 pass to you. Sometimes they would just kick it back and forth between 2 guys until the defense moved. And I was like, oh, I see how they end up with like 600 passes a game. I think they had like 590 something passes in this game. But yet the deep passes, the long passes, the ones that usually create like breakaway opportunities, they just don't do it. And it's like, it's fine. That's fine. As long as they're winning, it's fine. But there are certain times where it does feel like the car just needs to be put in gear to move in that direction. And you can see like there was a point in this game where Dreyer, like 2 or 3 times in a row, I think like Godoy had the ball, and Dreyer would do the thing where he would wait for the backline's guy to hit like his heel to hit the ground, and he would take off and while putting his hand up, like, hey, do it now, I can break away. And no one was sending anything to him. And it happened 2 or 3 times in a row where he would like clap his hands and turn around like frustrated, like, come on, I had that. And I was like, he has to know by now, right? Like, he has to know that that's not what they do, that they've all been trained to not play that way. But, the way that they're trained to play is take advantage of the opportunities and don't make mistakes. And it was also Dreyer who was there to take advantage of the opportunity when the other team made a mistake, get a one-on-one opportunity and score a goal that ended up being like the game-winning goal. Like, had he not scored that, we'd be, going home with 1 point instead of 3. So it's weird in that the Mikey Vargas like system is both aggressive offensively, but like conservative in how it gets there. And I think that's been a weird thing for everyone to kind of live with, but I don't know. I like it, but I also like it better when the team wins. When they don't win, I probably can complain all day about it.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see a little bit more change in tactics, especially the way that St. Louis was playing you. There was like nothing in that penalty area to get through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and eventually you got to change it up a little bit. I thought that it would be good to kind of stretch the field a little bit and kind of do what Dreyer wanted, right? As soon as Annabelle has that ball, send it deep for Dreyer, and it didn't turn out that way until that second goal where it was like it wasn't even intentional. It was like they were trying to clear it out, and it just
a
ended up.
mistake.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And then I would like to see like more wing play, especially when it comes to if you're gonna have Dreyer out there and Chucky. Like,
Yeah.
the only issue is you don't have a striker in the middle. You're gonna have to bring up multiple guys to kind of like you know get that central person to try to score that goal, and that's kind of the hard thing of trying to go out to the wings. But yeah, it was great. It was great to see Dreyer, get that goal. And the funny thing about it was he was waving guys in. He was just waving guys like, "Come on, I need some help!" Like, and then all of a sudden he was like, "You know what? I'm going to do it myself," and just snuck that ball through.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I'm glad he did it. I'm glad he took the chance, and because they definitely needed that second goal.
Yeah, and it was a goal that you don't see very often, where he was almost flat-footed before he kicked it. It's just like, okay, like it's almost a penalty kick at that point, where it's like the goalie's gonna guess something, and if he's right, you're screwed. But otherwise, you got a good chance. All right, I said we'd go 20. We're at 26. Do you have any final thoughts? Do you want to hand out any good games or bad games to anyone?
Oh man, good game. Luca Bambino looked pretty good. I think he's really starting to kind of cement himself in that like left wing back position. He's defending well. I mean, he defended very well last week too. And I think someone that really didn't really have a good game, that's kind of getting lost in the weeds a little bit, is like Luca De La Torre.
It's been like a few weeks in a row. He hasn't really put it together in a couple games.
I just don't know what it is. It's just like him not getting the ball as much. Is it just him?
He seems timid, right?
Yeah, it's just like him. Like, I want him like to get the ball and like carry it, but he just kind of just like kicks it away, kicks it back, kicks it, to somebody else, and I kind of want to see his creativity a little bit. You kind of want to see that in a midfielder, especially in that position. And when you see like Annabelle and Terskov kind of play back a little bit, you kind of need one of those, one of the three to be that creative guy that can get you in those positions, that can set up the guys going forward.
Yeah,
and you just aren't seeing that with De La Torre. And like today, yeah, another game where you're not really seeing much from him.
Yeah, he's kind of invisible. And that's the first few games of the season. It felt like he was going to be that guy who, was the center back that was, feeding crosses up to the strikers or leading passes up to the strikers. And yeah, you're right. He just doesn't really do that. It seems like he gets the ball and is immediately like, where should I funnel this to next? It's almost like he doesn't really believe in his ability to move the ball forward himself. And like, that's actually like Willie played this role a little bit, and this is a compliment to someone that, I probably otherwise wouldn't have totally noticed, but like I felt Mighton's absence in that, like, he's a guy that like when he gets the ball, he can move it up like 10, 15 yards and everyone's going to come with him because he's that fast and he's that creative with it. And sometimes they need that. And I missed him. And yet Luca De La Torre just kind of invisible again, unfortunately. For SDFC, but we've also seen defenses like play to shut him down because they're like, if we shut him down, it's hard for their whole offense to get going. So, maybe there's some of that. Did you hand out any good games or just bad games?
Yeah, Luca Bambino, good game. I mean, Elaski off the bench, that was really crucial there. getting that goal right outside the penalty area. That was amazing. Because yeah, it felt like he just missed, and he wasn't off by that much. He just hit the side of the net, and then he just kind of went back to him, and he scored that first goal. And yeah, and I'll for the next coming games, he's going to start. I feel like he's going to start because
really.
Well, this is where Mikey Veras is going to have to be a manager, right? He's going to have to manage some guys' minutes. It's not like, Chuky's going to be there playing 90 and then playing another 90 on Saturday or Andres Dreyer. I think, he's going to be given a shot to start. And, that's good. I mean, that's good because this isn't going to be the only time where you're going to see a weekday match and then another weekend match. Leagues Cup is going to be coming up in the summer in August, and that's where we're going to see a lot of younger players too. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see Olaski play a little bit, maybe Angel plays a little bit more, and some others. So yeah, good for Olaski. Back-to-back games with the goal.
Yeah, he seemed really happy with it too. Like there is a little bit of like him going like, this is where I've wanted to be. Like you can see like he's just that comfortable and that accepting of the whole situation. I think that's right. Yeah, I had forgotten about that. So is the next game this upcoming Wednesday?
Yes, home match against the Colorado Rapids. They lost 3-1 last match in
That's a
Denver.
Good team.
Yeah. Decent team, and hopefully no penalty given to the Rapids this time. And I think that just changed that prior game a lot. Penalty was given, and they just can come back from that. And they'll play the Rapids, and then Saturday will be the Kesey Sporting Kesey.
Got it. So. Just a quick glance at this. I think the next 3 games are home games.
Yes.
So just a quick glance at this, and then we'll get out of here. So here are players that played all 90 minutes tonight. It says 90, but I guess that also includes extra time. Dreyer, Patty McNair, Yeppe Cherskov, Luca De La Torre, Chucky Lozano, Luca Bombino, Annabelle Godoy, McVeigh, Willie Kumato played 80 minutes. Valakari played 67. So those are guys that it's gonna be tough for them to rev it back up in 4 or 5 days, and then do it again 3 or 4 days later. So we might see some majority of that group either miss one of the next 2 games. I don't know which one it'll be, but that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. And that does make it more likely that Olaski will get a start in one of these next 2 games, which I imagine will be really fun for him. All right, Alex, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for the insight. This was fun. I hope everyone listening to this enjoyed it. Maybe in the future I'll do some version of this with Darren, although he's usually busy during post-game time for SDFC. So we'll see. Go read Alex's work at Chromatic FC. I imagine there will be a recap of this game sometime in the next 24 to 48 hours. He is on Substack, and you can also follow him on Blue Sky. What's your name on Blue Sky?
Who knows Alex on Blue Sky?
I think it is Who Knows Alex. I know Alex, and Alex is a great guy, and he's a great follow, and he's a great read if you like San Diego Football Club. All right, let's get out of here and look forward to Wednesday's game.